Hi, welcome to another episode of ALS Caregiving Strategies. My name is Cooper Penner. So it's been a very long time, not that many people are watching or, waiting with bated breath. But it has been a couple months since I made a video. My mom is still alive. Everything is still unchanged, actually maybe a little bit smoother sailing. I feel like when I was making the videos, it was kind of the end of a very chaotic period and things have become a little bit simpler and easier. I think we've all gotten used to this new lifestyle, so that's nice. But I started to make, my fourth video, which I had planned to make about mental health. And I just had an experience, maybe you guys have had something like this, where I just felt like everything I was saying was a lie. Or like I was giving the right advice, but I didn't believe any of it for myself, or I was just not ready to hear it. So I sort of closed the camera and spent a couple months trying to, work through stuff. Because that felt like it would be too hypocritical to make a video about mental health while I was in a really dark state. And I think that it's impossible to give really, really good advice about maintaining mental health. Best advice I've gotten is to take it one day at a time and be kind to myself. And I think that's what I come back to over and over. I read all sorts of stuff. I've encountered all sorts of stuff. People have plenty to say to me. And that is what has helped me the most, is just to take it one day at a time and not kind of blast off into space, thinking about what could happen, what has happened. But to care for someone with ALS is to go through trauma. That's just the truth of it. I mean, maybe it's different if it's someone who's not in your family, but to be an ALS caregiver is to experience trauma in some capacity. And it makes your heart harden. It makes it really hard to exist in the world when you just see horror all the time. And you see how fragile life is and how painful and terrible it can be, how someone who's just perfectly good and kind and hasn't done anything wrong to anyone in their entire life can suddenly just be plucked from their world and just spun into horror, the horror of not being able to move, not being able to speak, not being able to breathe. And then you just have to keep going. Life keeps going. Insurance companies don't care. A lot of people care up to a certain point. And, they're just living their life too. You have to deal with money. You have to think about all the things you never liked thinking about. And then you go home and you take care of someone who's dying. And dying a very slow, difficult death. And they don't want to die, probably. So that's just to say things that maybe you already know all too well. Or maybe that, you will hear later. Maybe this doesn't mean anything to you right now. That's just to say why I stopped making the videos, is I realized talking about it and giving advice can in some ways be a form of disassociation for me. When I give advice about something, that I'm in control of it, or I understand it, and then I stop experiencing it. And I don't want to give you dissociated advice about mental health, because if you're watching this, or you're Google searching that, maybe you really need help. I read a book by Roshi Joan Halifax, if you know who that is, which helped me a lot, called Being with Dying. One thing she speaks about in that book are the kind of archetypes of caregivers. She's got really specific language. And I'm not going to go through her whole thesis, because it's worth reading on your own and because I'll probably bore you. One thing she spoke about, which really stuck out to me, though, was the danger of martyrdom. This kind of tendency certain people have of, taking on so much in spite of everything else. Caring for someone endlessly giving and giving and giving, even when it harms them. And how there's this sense we have in our society that that is what you should do. In fact, what you need to do. And it's just a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for burnout and pain. And that's something I really struggle with, is what are my limits and how can I give the best care possible? Which means not giving care all the time and taking space for myself. And that's really challenging when someone needs you all the time, to be able to step back from that and set specific boundaries. And for me, I literally have to like offload it to an objective system. I have to plan something for myself, or I have to like write down on a piece of paper, you have to leave the house at this time. Because otherwise I just kind of sink into this state of just such deep fatigue that I don't experience anything. Not truly. Like, I'm not really experiencing anything. I think a lot of things will come up. A lot of things have come up for me. One of the most challenging things is resentment. I think a lot of caregivers speak about this, It's very hard to come to terms with the just selfish animal that lives in all of us. That part of us that just doesn't want to have pain ever, doesn't want to have discomfort ever, and doesn't really want to be compromised, even by the people we love. It takes effort. I wish it was just automatic, but it's not always. And for me, being able to grapple with that and just explicitly see it in myself has been a great challenge, but also a great boon, because it's sort of like you have to move through that to actually be compassionate. And listen to it too, I think when you're caring for someone all the time, you need to look at yourself and your needs, as a separate being that you're caring for also. ALS experiences can be very long. If you're chronically caring for someone, years and years of your life. It's been 2 years of my life, and a lot has changed for me. I've had to give up a lot. And in turn, I've gained a lot. I've gained a new perspective and a newfound sense of like love for my mom. Just this person, and an appreciation for the other people in my life. But it is long, and it's hard to live. It's, I was always a super, type A wacko about school. That's just kind of my deal. And it was basically impossible to maintain that, which is sick. It's a certain type of sickness, It's just sickness that's rewarded. It's hard to maintain that, and care for my mom well. Studying for the MCAT. It's like, I don't care about Schnell's law when I go home and have to, when I come home and literally have to like save my mom's life because someone has made a mistake, or I make a mistake and my mom gets a black eye accidentally because I wasn't super aware in one moment as I was transferring her. To live with those stakes is really hard. It's a lot to take on. And if you're watching this and you're taking that on, I pray for you. I really do. But yeah, as far as skills go, for me, I meditate every day. That's helpful. And I know that's kind of like the buzzword of our society, and it's not for everyone. But I thought maybe I would go through a quick one, just kind of couple thoughts about a meditative practice, and then maybe just a quick kind of mantra, because a lot of the time there's no space for anything. I think part of the reason that meditation is maybe failing our society is that our society is failing us. People don't have the time to sit down every day for an extended period of time and work on themselves. Or if you do have that time, you're probably kind of lucky. You probably have a sort of privileged life. When I feel really emotionally intense, I don't sit. I go for a walk, and I try to focus on the sun or the rain and the feeling of my feet on the ground. and I count my steps. You know, if it's too hard for me to walk slow, I just count my steps. And I keep counting until I feel a little bit better. And if I only have 20 minutes, I do it for 20 minutes. And if I have as much time as I need, really, I do it until I feel better. A little bit better. Other times, I'll feel really good. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll have a lot of energy, and I'll think, what can I do? And for me, I always sit. I try to sit for 20 minutes every day, which maybe sounds like a lot, or maybe doesn't sound like a lot if you're a real meditator and not a fake meditator like me. And I'm shocked sometimes what comes up for me. I'm feeling good just under the surface. I'll come out and I'll have so much anger or so much sadness. But it's like brushing your teeth, just trying to take some space for yourself, to not be distracted, to not get caught up. Helps, I think. I think we all have to pay off this really big emotional credit card debt eventually. And when someone dies, I haven't even experienced that yet. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'll feel when my mom dies. But it helps. It really helps. To just be explicit. To just explicitly take care of yourself. And then doing stupid stuff. Like, for me that's playing Pokemon. So I said a second ago, don't be distracted. But sometimes you just kind of need to be a little bit. And thinking that's okay. And, walking the line between moving into a pit where I can't feel anything, so I'm going to sorry, I shouldn't curse. I'm going to, watch 4 hours of Netflix and, eat some banana bread someone brought over, versus I'm going to play Pokemon for 30 minutes and then maybe go for a walk and enjoy the sun. That's up to you to find that balance. I exist somewhere in between there. But just carving out time explicitly for yourself. And then asking for help. This gets back to that kind of martyr archetype I mentioned, but that's really hard for me. And so I wouldn't ask for help, and then I'd be resentful when help wasn't given, or wasn't given on the terms I needed it. Because there's a lot, and you're caring for someone, and chances are, it depends for everyone, but they may be asking a lot of you. And so you may sort of feel that other people should be doing a lot for you. But the truth is, people don't understand, and people are really uncomfortable about pain. It's very hard. And so to explicitly ask for help can be good. And surrounding yourself with people who can give meaningful help. Seeking assistance, seeking community makes such a big difference. I'm so lucky. I have such good friends. I really am. It's like remarkable. I don't know what I did to deserve such good friends. Anyway, so this is kind of meandering. And I won't meander too much because I feel maybe you just see that if you're in the same situation as me, or if you're someone who's been diagnosed with ALS, you see that we share the same space in some ways. But if you want to talk to someone, I'll include my email. Just send me an email. I would love to talk with you about this. And be nice to yourself. So now I'll do this brief meditation. I can do a longer one perhaps, but I'll if people are interested in that, if anyone would want that, even if one person just says, do that, I'll add the video, because I don't want to be I don't know. I have I struggle with that sometimes, but I think as far as just a simple mantra meditation, a lot of the time I find that I have these really toxic thoughts just stuck in my head, and I won't even be aware of them. But if I really sit with myself, I'll see like, oh my God, the thought I've been thinking the most without even being aware of it is like, what's the point? Some really, really dark existential stuff. Like, why am I here? What's the point? And so when I can become aware of that, I start just trying to replace those words with other words. And usually what I turn to is loving kindness meditation. So you start by just thinking. You can say it out loud or think it out loud. May I be well. May I be good. May my life be full of ease. I start by extending it to myself, because for me that's the most challenging thing. If that's too hard for you, if you are full of self-loathing, or if it just feels weird, just think of the person you love the most. Preferably not someone you're in a romantic relationship with, because that can be complicated. Even if it's a pet, your favorite dog. And then just extend that mantra towards them. May my father be good. May my father be well. May my father's life be full of ease. And then just continue to run through that. Move through someone you love, someone you like, someone you're neutral about, yourself. You can do it for someone who's been causing you a lot of problems too, if you feel that you're ready for that, or if it feels right, if you feel ready to extend that love. And for me, I start just kind of thinking it, like trying to make it purely cognitive, and then letting it slowly move towards my heart, so that at the end, when I'm extending love from my heart. And I find that gives me a lot of energy. Yeah. So I'm going to continue to make these videos. I'm going to make some more technical videos about insurance, what the government can promise you, what's going on, and just more sort of nuts and bolts about caregiving. But yeah, I hope this was helpful in some way. It was certainly nice for me to talk about. I feel like I'm in a good place to talk about it. Okay, have a great night.